22 took place this past Saturday in what was supposed to be one of the biggest, most hyped, entertaining cards of the year turned into 4 fights in a row of crazy finishes with a few bright spots on the prelims and also a few duds on the prelims and the huge super fights. The co-main and main event were duds and the hype was dead. However, there were many legacy-defining moments on this card, especially in the main event. And that's what we're going to start with and discuss first. And make sure you stick around for the end of the video, as I will be giving my opinion on the card in its entirety and giving it a rating from 1 through 10. So let's go ahead and talk about, and probably my opinion, I need to look at this some more and I may make a video about it. Islam Makhachev defeats Jack Della Maddalena to become a 2-weight UFC champion and defining his legacy and firmly inserting his name into the GOAT conversation. In my opinion, he was already there. However, there were a few bumps on his resume. However, now, with that dominating, no matter how boring it was, sadly, it was a dominating, will-inflicting performance by Islam Makhachev. And I'm going to look more into this, but he may be the GOAT, kind of sadly. Not that I dislike Islam at all. He is an amazing fighter. He's so well-rounded. However, his legacy-defining moment will be forgotten, in my opinion. It was so boring. And I don't put all the blame on Islam at all. Now, Islam, I think there are many opportunities to inflict more damage, attack submissions, and create finishing opportunities. However, my boy Jack Della Maddalena came out flat, stuck in mud, barely threw any more than a 1-2, and fought horribly. I mean, let's be honest, and I hate to say this, but I agree with what Ian Gary said. The guy looked like he didn't prep for this fight whatsoever, and I still love JDM, and I have confidence in him that he will be back, but that was such a disappointing performance, and that's why I know a lot of people are going to hate on Islam and blame the boring fight on him in its entirety. And while I agree in some points, in some parts, that he had many opportunities to inflict damage when Jack was never getting up besides with 30 seconds left in the round from half guard. He could have postured up, dropped elbows. He could have attacked the submissions harder. But in Islam's defense, JDM he accepted bottom position. He didn't. I don't know how to explain his performance. I don't think enough people are talking about how bad Jack's performance was. And I don't say that to take anything away from Islam Makhachev. He is one of the best fighters to ever step in the octagon. It was, while boring, very impressive in a dominating performance on Islam's part. His ability to get to dominant position, immediately shoot takedowns, and get the fight exactly where he wants to be. The strength, his grip strength, I mean, that's kind of a given the breeding process in Dagestan. I'm not trying to be offensive, but it is what it is. It is their culture. Nevertheless, the guy's an amazing fighter, probably the GOAT at this point. I mean, you can call it recency bias if you want, but look at all the other people consider GOATs. Anderson Silva fought Cans, one of my favorite fighters ever. Did not fight the best. He did pop, but that was after his title run. John Jones, a lot of those defenses he lost to Dominic Reyes, and he popped for most of his fights. His only really good win is Daniel Cormier. One of those were overturned. Islam, while there are a few bumps on his resume, the Volk coming in on short notice, out of prime Dustin Poirier taking him to the brink, even though Islam dominated that fight in all reality, but Dustin gave him all he could handle. However, his ability to come up to the 170-pound division and dominate a guy like Jack Della Maddalena, who showed amazing grappling defense against one of the more dominant grapplers in UFC history, really, even though I'm a Bilal hater through and through, the guy can grapple and he's good at it, and he's able to get the fight to where he wants and win fights. And Jack was able to stop that and beat him up. And I really thought, it was 50-50 to me the whole time, but I thought Jack had it. I predicted him. I'm not here to make excuses about my prediction or anything. But Islam Makhachev, dominant performance. He's really good. I'm not going to hate on it too much because most of his other fights are very entertaining, especially during his title run at lightweight. you can't complain about the guy, especially compared to Habib. He has shown skill on different levels. He's much better than Habib, in my opinion. But the boring factor, I blame more Jack. Sadly, and especially after those first 3 rounds, you know you're down. You have to risk something to show that you wanted to be in there. And I thought that was a big factor of Jack. I thought he would be gritty. I thought he would never give up. And I thought a pace would wear on Islam at some point. But the guy never attempted to take the center of the octagon. Well, never. He did at some points, but as soon as he did, he would maybe land 1 or 2 nice shots. And then he immediately let Islam back him up against the cage. And Islam did exactly what he needed to do to win. A big fight like this, I know there should be more to talk about. I know I should talk more about it, but just was a dominating performance by Islam on the ground. Jack gave him no resistance whatsoever. Landed no real damage on the feet. Not to pop off any Roganisms or anything, but man, those calf kicks. You do not want to be there, friend. You were in his world, Jack. Islam, those calf kicks, they were good calf kicks, and they for sure did inflict damage on JDM. Not as much as Rogan would like to think, and we all know what calf kicks do to Joe Rogan nonetheless. Overall, though, so disappointed in the fight in general. Great for Islam's legacy. Dominant performance. But man, and what makes me angry about it is not that Islam won. It's that he did nothing to stamp that dominant performance. And I just think people are going to forget. I don't think he made a mark like he really wanted to. Now in the history books and all the general history and record and GOAT status of the sport, legacy defining and very impressive. But I just think he left so much on the table out there. Nonetheless, though, I'm not here to discredit the performance at all. I am just personally unsatisfied with the performance on both ends, really. And like I said, Jack, it's as much Jack's fault as it is Islam's. He just gave no resistance whatsoever, and Islam was perfectly comfortable getting half guard, smothering him, and landing little tippy tap shots. And he won. And it's meta, and it works, and it wins, and it's very effective. I mean, I'm not gonna lie about that, but it was boring. Okay, 2 things can be true at once. I'm not here to hate. Okay, I'm saying what's true, and if you deny that factor, 2 things can be true at once, and I know there are going to be plenty of glazers. And what sucks about Islam is he is so great and so amazing. And while a boring performance had a dominant performance, but his fan base is what makes these Dagestanis so unbearable. Like, I probably wouldn't be a fanboy of the Dagestanis or any of them by any means, besides maybe John Pork, because he's John Pork. You can't hate on John Pork. Nevertheless, though, to just stop talking about this fight, honestly, because I'm bummed that Jack lost. However, I would not be as disappointed in this if Islam really put a capstone on this performance. I mean, if you look at these stats, 140 total strikes and 30 significant strikes. I bet it was way less than that. And then look at Jack. Look at Jack, man. Pitiful, pitiful, pitiful performance by Jack. I hate to say it. Love the guy. Don't hate Islam one bit. I enjoy watching him fight. I think he's hilarious. He's one of the few with a good personality from that region. But, yeah, Islam, double champ. And we'll discuss what's next for these 2 guys in the future tomorrow. Welterweight's a crazy mosh pit right now. May make a whole video about that in general. We'll talk about some other guys later down the card. But, yeah, let's just go ahead and move on. Not much to say, honestly, besides Islam having a legacy-defining moment. And how much of a moment was it? Let me get a sip of DC real quick. Valentina Shevchenko dominates Zhang Weili. Again, 0 for 2 on the co-main and main event. I had no idea that Shevchenko's physicality and strength would be this big of a factor against Zhang Wei Li. I guess I didn't think about the fact that maybe she wouldn't, and I know women's physiology, it's harder for them to put on muscle and change their body composition in general. Like Islam looked huge out there in his moving up weight event, but Zhang looked the same size as she did at 115, was not able to overcome the physicality and strength of Valentina. And Valentina, again, had her way with every single takedown attempt, easy trips and double legs, and was just able to get top position and dominate there. I mean, even in this fight, while it was a snooze fest as well, Valentina did... man, I was so mad. I believe it's the fourth round. She was hurting Wei Li to the body, and she could have pressed the pace there and gotten a finish. Or at least... oh my gosh, my cat. Or at least push the pace to attempt to inflict damage somewhat. And while she did do more damage than like Islam did in his fight or Hamzat did in his fight against DDP, it was impressive. Again, nonetheless, two things can be true at once. Boring performance, left a lot on the table. However, it was very dominant, and Valentina may be at this point or on her way to being the greatest women's fighter of all time. If you compare her to Amanda Nunes, especially considering really Shevchenko won one of those fights against Nunes, and she's undersized against Nunes. She's fought tougher competition at 125. I think Natalia Silva is going to be a valiant competitor in her next outing. That's obviously the fight to make next, in my opinion. But I'm sad for Zhang Wei Li, man. She's such a happy-go-lucky. She's learned English. What a sweet Chinese Communist Party affiliate. I know they have they don't have much options. That's why I don't hate on her whatsoever. I don't like communism for sure, though. Nonetheless, though, Valentina also on the feet. Another reason I think a lot was left on the table. She was managing the distance so well and not allowing Zhang to enter with her bursts of combinations and putting punches, kicks together. And Valentina herself, she put it together a few combinations here and there, but also she looked really quick tonight, Saturday night. And I think she could have done more to put a stamp on probably the best win of her career if you look at the dominance, because her early flyweight run, those girls are not very good. Like Manon Fiort, Talia Santos, they were valiant competitors, and while she wasn't able to dominate them as fully, one of the best women's fighters of all time, and Zhang Wei Li, arguably the best 115-pound woman, came up in weight class and she dominated her. And I thought Zhang Wei Li was going to school her. I'm not going to sit here and deny a prediction again. 0-2 starting off, huh, guys? Not very good. I'm a great prelim predictor nonetheless. But let's look at here too. Again, 137 total strikes, 41 significant strikes. Most of those, she and a few times, man, she had crucifix position and decided to not do anything and land nasty elbows on Zhang Wei Li. Again, two things can be true at once. Boring fight, but amazing performance by Valentina, man. She was able to get anything she wanted going in the fight, especially on the ground, and implement her will and get it done. So, great performance. However, and this one, I don't necessarily blame Zhang Wei Li as much, because unlike Jack, man, she was trying super hard, but Valentina was dominating her. And in those true dominant positions that Valentina had, even more than Islam, she could have done more to at least inflict damage. She never attacked submissions, and Valentina has a good submission game. So again, a lot left on the table. Nonetheless, legacy-defining win for Valentina. Very dominant. Zhang Wei Li is going to go back down to 115 and probably dominate Mackenzie Dern, though. So, all good in Zhang Wei Li land besides losing tonight. But Valentina, she has some interesting options here. I hear people want her to fight Kayla Harrison, or if Amanda Nunes comes back, beats Kayla. I don't know if necessarily that's a big ordeal that I want to see or anything, nonetheless. But, we'll take what we can get in the old WMMA circuit. But to end it off, Valentina, dominant performance, left a lot on the table, but good for her legacy nonetheless. Now let's get into some interesting freaking finishes and storylines moving forward, especially in the welterweight division. I was not, again, 0-3, huh? I was not expecting Michael Morales to go out there. I knew he had power, But if you look at his entire record in the UFC, besides like the Neil Magny, where Neil Magny gave him problems in the early finish of Gilbert Burns, the guy was fighting the close decisions against Max Griffin and Jake Matthews and the likes of those type of guys, all right? Maybe not close, but not making easy work of those guys. But to come out here and absolutely destroy Sean Brady, not allow him to enter in any sort of grappling exchange, and again, I say this a lot about MMA and UFC fighters, they do not use the jab enough. And as soon as Michael Morales established the jab, and he had very impressive footwork. I like how he came out more square stance and lower at the hips to prevent those entries from Sean Brady. And what was really bad on Sean Brady's part, in my opinion, is his stance on the feet is so bladed. And the way Michael Morales was lining up his shots and teeing off, he was establishing that jab, touching him up, and was coming over the top with nasty, big, straight shots, was looping them here and there, and I honestly thought the looping shots would maybe allow Sean Brady to get back into the fight, but Sean Brady stood no chance at one moment in this fight. Michael Morales, great performance. The kid is improving rapidly, so he's the real deal now, in my opinion. I think him and Islam's interesting. I'm going to be talking about this type of stuff tomorrow, but I do think it's somewhat interesting, especially with how big the guy is. His power is insane, and he is as he levels up in competition, he is performing better, and that's a big tell to me for guys who have the championship DNA in their blood. Sean Brady, like I said, due to Michael Morales' past performance against guys at lower levels, Gilbert Burns is washed at this point in his career. I love Gilbert. I'm not trying to hate on him, but it's the truth. I thought Sean Brady would make easy work of Morales. I thought it would be very easy for him to get this fight on the ground. But with Michael Morales establishing that jab, never even needed to use really any takedown or clinch defense whatsoever. He strung combinations together perfectly. He picked his shots very well, too, in my opinion. And that was very impressive, especially by picking his shots and still being able to get him out in the first round. That shows how much power this guy has. Great performance by Michael Morales. A lot of hype was built off of him last Saturday night. Sean Brady's back to the drawing board. I've been high on Sean Brady. It could have been the American bias. He's our only hope. He was our only hope, man. We gotta step up, America. We have no top guys, man. It's so sad to see. But Michael Morales, beautiful performance. Left nothing on the table compared to the freaking championship fights. It showed a lot of his ability, and I'm very interested to see what he looks like moving forward. And we'll talk about some matchups, especially in the welterweight division tomorrow. It's super interesting, and I'm very excited for the future of welterweight. Moving on. Carlos Prates sends Leon Edwards to the Shadow Realm. And I want to give big props to Carlos Prates in the improvements in his game that he made. Because I genuinely think Leon Edwards is a better, stickier grappler than Ian Gary. I do, and that could be Cope because I don't like Ian Gary. But Carlos Prates has made improvements. Let me get a drink of Diet Coke. I forget to breathe when I talk. But his ability to stay calm in that first round while Leon was smothering him and getting advantageous positions, getting on his back in the grappling. And that's what worried me in this fight. I was really worried after that first round when Leon was able to dominate in the grappling exchanges. But Carlos Prates stayed cool, calm, and collective. And as soon as that second round started, he did not allow Leon to get him on the back foot whatsoever. And how he feinted that jab, landed it slightly, pulled Leon back a little bit, and then exploded into that too. Pause. Exploded all over this way. How he pulled back with that one, came straight down the pipe with the two, straight through the guard of Leon Edwards, sent him off his feet and onto the canvas. I mean, you know a knockout is bad when Leon Edwards has his eyes rolling in the back of his head and smiling as he is unconscious. I felt a little bad for Leon. I'm not a Leon hater by any means. I am a Carlos Prates fan. He's so entertaining, man. But I like what I've seen from him. And that even I know Leon's nowhere near the grappler of guys like Sean Brady and Islam. But if Carlos Prates, if you somehow see this dude with what welterweight looks like right now, you keep crisping up that beautiful striking technique of yours. That power is insane. Your quickness and ability to move on the feet and your footwork is phenomenal. Drill, drill, drill wrestling. Drill takedown defense. Drill get-ups. Drill position, position, position. Because, dude, you have every ability on the feet to take everybody out in the welterweight division. I think him and Michael Morales is a super interesting matchup. Drill, drill, drill wrestling, get-ups, and takedown defense, man. Because you have every ability on the feet to send any of these guys in welterweight to the shadow realm, man. I was so hyped when I seen that knockout. I was very impressed with his composure. You can tell he loves being out there in the octagon fighting. He loves every bit of it. He loves the adrenaline. And I think it's a good thing for his career for Leon to get him in those positions, especially what we saw with Ian Gary dominating Carlos Prates in that fight night main event. His ability to weather that storm and come back in the second round and knock him out. I like to hate on Ian Gary. He's a phenomenal fighter nonetheless. But I think it's a much more interesting matchup now, Carlos Prates and Ian Gary. I think Carlos Prates has improved. That could be Cope, though, because I don't like Ian Gary whatsoever. I don't support cuckery. Nevertheless, though. Dude. What? Dude, is Leon Edwards still on the canvas? Poor guy. Chael Sonnen had that quote, Leon Edwards may be the best fighter in the UFC. And funny enough, I almost kind of agree with that because he does have the ability and the technique of the skill set to do very well in the welterweight division. But the guy just, I think a lot of it's mental. And I think after a knockout like that tonight, man, poor Leon Edwards, I think he's going to have a bad spiral. Jorge's wanting to come back. Dude, Leon Jorge, be nice to Leon, man. He deserves it. He beat Kamaru Usman, man. That freaking rotation of knockouts is crazy. If you know, you know. Carlos Prates, though, dude, he's the real deal. He's the real deal, in my opinion. I think he's an actual title contender now, and I wouldn't say that before this fight, but I think he showed that he truly is. And I hope it's not just Leon sucking, because I like Prates. Moving on, I mean, what are we even going to talk about in this fight? I would like to say, though, I was super sad when this happened. I like Dariush. He's a good guy, man. But Benoit Saint Denis, I talked about this in my betting video. He's going to have to show me something that he's leveled up in the game to beat guys like Beneil Dariush. Even though the meta of beating Dariush is you have to get him out of there fast. Unless you're a really top-level guy like Sarukian got him out of there fast. Benoit gets him out of there fast. I mean, people forget, man. Beneil Dariush beat Mateusz Gamrot. Yeah, I think that's a big ordeal, in my opinion. But Benoit Saint Denis, even though it was short, quick, powerful knockout, great knockout, when they got close in that clinch situation and the knockout shot came, his ability there, and I think is going to help him a lot in his career, to hold guard and find a shot over the top with the ear with his, he has very good power for the lightweight division. I thought showed something. Even though there's not much to take away from this fight because it was so fast, I think that's a really good sign moving forward for Benoit Saint Denis. And it may just get Lucas Glazy out of retirement. Shout out Lucas. I miss you, dog. We need videos back, man. You're the best. Nonetheless, though, not much to talk about here besides the fact that Beneil got flatlined. But I thought it was also impressive for Benoit to, man, those calf kicks. Not to Roganism. Dariush landed a few nasty calf kicks right there. But as soon as they got in close quarters, that's where Benoit was going to live in this fight, he showed his power and picked a good shot, found a shot to put Beneil Dariush out, and I think that means a lot moving forward for Benoit Saint Denis. So good for BSD moving forward. Beneil Dariush missed weight, looked horrible on the scale. I don't know what you do with him next, man. That made me sad. Now, all props to Benoit. Amazing knockout. showed levels Saturday night, and I like his ability to win bigger fights moving forward after seeing what he did in that situation and where Benoit Saint Denis is going to thrive if he wants to keep pursuing a lightweight championship. Let's move on to the prelims. Going to make these a little shorter. Bo Nickel, the kickboxer. I tweeted that. Go follow me on Twitter. CNOL MMA. Same deal. Go follow me on Twitter. I tweeted throughout the whole fights. Bo looked good. He looked good on the feet. He looked confident. He looked comfortable. And I know it's Rodolfo Vieira, but even in the grappling exchanges, I picked Rodolfo. My record on this freaking card is awful. We'll look at that after I get done discussing this. But on the feet, he looked calm, comfortable. And again, it's Rodolfo Vieira. But, man, you keep barely leveling up Bo, and maybe he will maybe he will live up to the hype and what he said about himself. I don't think you go ahead and throw him in there with another top 15 guy after this performance. You don't do that, man. You keep 3 or 4 more guys of barely little bit more skill. You just keep gradually building him up. That's what you have to do. I mean, that head kick was nasty. He has power. He's athletic, strong. And in the grappling exchanges, he did exactly the opposite of what I thought would happen. And he imposed his will in those positions. He didn't panic. He stayed calm the entire time. He's getting more used to being in a fight, a real fight, not just scrambling on the wrestling mat. And he didn't allow Rodolfo to show any submission offense whatsoever. Kept good position on him the entire time. Very impressive performance. And a very, 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 very good job of capstoning that with a nasty head kick, Bo. That was much needed. And props to Bo. That was a great performance by Bo. You freaking mother frickers. You frickers boo me or you don't boo me, you mother frickers. Shout out Bo Nickel for keeping it clean. Shout out. Moving on down the card, Gregory Rodriguez imposes his will the first 2 rounds against Roman Kopylov. Did exactly what I predicted, what he needed to do and what he would do to win. Round 3 was close. I scored it for Roman Kopylov. I think that's the right score. But nonetheless, though, those first 2 rounds, he just kept Kopylov on his back foot, didn't allow him to fire off any of his nasty kicks, used his jab very effectively, threatened a takedown here and there, and pieced him up on the feet with his boxing. It was a very good performance by RoboCop. He's very powerful, had Kopylov in a couple of dangerous positions throughout the fight. Kopylov was able to keep it close and win that round in round 3. RoboCop looked a little tired. That's worrisome for him, too. We all know his gas tank probably ain't the best. Carries a lot of muscle. Dude is very, very lean. But beating a younger guy in Kopylov who poses problems on the feet, I thought was very impressive for RoboCop. And I enjoyable fight for sure. Good performance by Greg. Greg. Again, jab. Jab, jab, jab. Establishing a jab in any MMA fight is a legit cheat code. He managed the distance exactly how he needed to those first 2 rounds. Kopylov was able to get more shots off in that 3rd round for sure. But RoboCop wins a clear 29-28 decision. Good performance by RoboCop. Moving on to Aaron Blanchfield and Tracy Cortez, the best personality in the UFC. Tracy Cortez went out there in the first round, showed very much improved boxing, a lot sharper, a lot tighter, and won that first round. But as soon as she decided to engage, which was her offensively engaging in the grappling with Aaron Blanchfield took over, man. And as soon as that fight got to the ground, it was Aaron Blanchfield's time. And she immediately found a submission and got it done on the ground. That's what Aaron Blanchfield does. And that's why I picked her to win. Because even though I wasn't expecting Tracy to be that good on the feet with her boxing, I knew on the ground Aaron was going to have the advantage. I think she cares more. I think fighting for Cortez is more of a marketing scheme for herself, not to hate or anything. She has a great personality. But Aaron Blanchfield, she's a good top flyweight for sure. Gets it done. Did what she need to. That's how you win if you're Aaron Blanchfield. That's how I thought the fight would go. I didn't think she would necessarily get the submission, but she showed a level above Tracy Cortez for sure on the mat, and I didn't think she was that many levels above Tracy Cortez on the mat. So good win for Aaron Blanchfield. Probably needs one more to get in the title picture, though, after Natalia Silva beating Alexa Grasso. But she's right there, man. And I don't think she'd beat Valentina, but she's good. And it's a good performance. Moving on. Freaking Ethan Ewing, man. Ooh, Ethan Ewing. Ethan Ewing, on what was it, 2 days' notice, showed levels against Malcolm Wellmaker. He was the better overall boxer. As soon as this fight started, man, Ethan Ewing, man, he made the fight a little dirty, engaged in freaking clinch situations, and just put together combinations to outdamage Malcolm Wellmaker. Avoided the big shots at all times. I said fraud check on Twitter. I don't think it's necessarily a fraud check. I think Ethan Ewing's the real deal, man. And you know, taking a fight on 2 days' notice against a guy on the regional scene who Wellmaker probably didn't even watch film for this fight. He was probably not expecting this guy to come in there and be as good as he was, but Ewing's good. And he has kind of that X factor of pace. And while it's not a fast pace, it's a slow pace. He does a very good job of cutting off the cage, using his boxing, and offensively getting in clinch positions to control the output of his opponent. And that's exactly what he did against Malcolm. Did an amazing job to avoid the big shots and had a great performance. I think this guy's the real deal. I think he has top 15 potential. He has Lord Farquaad, man, in the UFC. It's a crazy time we're living in, guys. Moving on to the early prelims. Kyle Dawkins, poor GM3. Dude has power. Dude has confidence. Dude could be a problem at middleweight in those top 25 areas of it. I don't know if he's necessarily a top 15 guy, but he's finally living up to the potential people talked about early in his career. And he went out there and clubbed and subbed GM3. Man, I feel like it was a powerful shot that put GM3 down, but I didn't think it was that bad. Poor guy. I think it's time for GM3 to hang it up, or UFC give him a can that he can get on the ground and submit, just for him to retire on. But nonetheless, Kyle Dawkins, looking good, improved a lot in his time away from the UFC. Synced up a nasty Darce choke. I enjoyed that for sure. And it's a good performance. Not much to talk about. It was a 50-second finish. But Kyle Dawkins, I think he's going to keep climbing. I think it's going to be interesting to see when he goes up against some tougher fighters, see what he can do. Michel Pereira, honestly, better than GM3. He put him out in the first round. So I think Kyle Dawkins is kind of interesting now at middleweight. He's long, rangy, powerful, confident on the feet, has a really good ground game, was able to submit GM3. GM3 was practically unconscious, but nonetheless, though, great performance by Dawkins. Predicted that one pretty well. Moving on to Pat Sabatini. Absolutely dominated Chepe Mariscal. Did not think Chepe would be that bad in defensive positions on the freaking ground. Or I didn't think Pat Sabatini would be able to do that. Like, I thought Pat Sabatini probably had the overall ground game advantage, but his wrestling looked really good. And he also did a pretty good job of doing some damage on the ground, attempting submissions. Not the most exciting fight, but he at least went out there, unlike Islam and Valentina, and he did a little more, and I appreciate that. But I didn't think against a guy like Chepe. I thought he was very physical. Thought he was a grinder. Pat Sabatini, though, he looks a little awkward on the feet. He landed a few times on the feet as well, so did Chepe. But as soon as he was able to engage in grappling, he just dominated Chepe. And I think Pat, moving forward, with that style of game he has, especially in the featherweight division, I think it pose a lot of problems to guys. So, great performance by Sabatini. Moving on to Fatima Klein, probably my new favorite women's fighter, pieced up Angela Hill. Her timing was beautiful, not only on the feet with her landing jabs, her straight shots were beautiful, mixing in the kicks, but also on those takedown entries. Her timing and quickness on those were very impressive. Angela Hill, I don't know how she was 12 in the UFC strawweight division. But, Angela Hill's kind of a hard person to dominate. And even though Angie, she kind of landed a few overhands here and there in those last 2 rounds. They're decent shots. She kind of does that to everyone, though, I feel like. Fatima Klein showed that she has levels and a lot of skills. And I think that's going to take her to the top 5 of the strawweight women's division. Beautiful performance by Fatima Klein. Moving on to Basengur Susakayev. Tong 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 Sador. If you know, you know. Against Eric McConaughey. Eric McConaughey, I thought could have won this fight in those first 2 rounds. He had Sir Serkayev hurt at points. He had him stung and just decided to clinch, man. And as soon as that fight got in the 3rd round, Sir Serkayev finally decided he's going to go out there and walk through McConaughey, and that's what he did. Nasty knockout performance by Sir Serkayev. Still young in the game, so I still think he has the chance to improve and beat more top-flight guys, but the dude leaves his chin in the air a lot. Seemed very vulnerable to being out physicality in the clinch and in those positions. So I think he's going to have problems at middleweight, but he's young, so he has time to work on his game, and he could be as good as a lot of people think he's going to be. But honestly, McConaughey could have won that fight in those first 2 rounds, in my opinion. Or just done more to really at least gain Sir Serkayev's respect more. Because he never had Sir Serkayev's respect, really. Even though he was out-damaging him in those first 2 rounds. I think I scored those first 2 rounds for McConaughey. But Sir Serkayev walks through him in the 3rd round. And it was it was good to see that from a young guy, not getting totally defeated, even though he kind of looked like that in the first 2 rounds. And he was able to implement his striking and get McConaughey out there. So great performance by Sir Serkayev. In the 3rd round, at least. Both these guys should be cut. Very low level. I thought Borshev won this fight. It could have been just the first fight of the night type of deal. But I thought he outdamaged him in the first 2 rounds. I don't know, because I didn't think Camilo did all that much on the ground. He won the 3rd round, but this fight really meant nothing. And the grappling won it for Camilo. Borshev has no grappling defense, whatever. So, it's pitiful. As soon as you get to his legs and get a hand freaking grip over top, over under, bro's going to the ground, and he has nothing there for you. And Camilo was able to dominate there. So, not like crazy entertaining or nothing. Borshev did look good on the feet, though, and that's kind of why I thought he won the fight. I thought he did quite a bit of damage in those first 2 rounds, and even the 3rd round. But they gave it to Camilo. I'm not going to complain. But let's count the record real quick. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, 4-1. I didn't make a pick on that. 5-1, 6-1, 6-2, 6-3, 7-3, 7-4, 7-5, 7-6. So at least I'm above 500. Could have been worse for sure. But honestly, from Nickel to Morales, the card was so good. And imagine how good the co-main and main event could have been. I give this like a 5 out of 10. The prelims were decent. 4 great fights in a row with amazing finishes. But especially due to the main event, it bumps it down so much. Took away all the hype building up for this card. So I give it like a 5 out of 10. I was so excited for this card. I went to bed disappointed. But we'll talk about the future of the UFC and what this fight card means for the future. Especially the welterweight division, Islam, the young welterweights. We'll talk about that tomorrow and throughout the week. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this UFC 322 recap and breakdown. Please like and subscribe. And if you've watched all the way through, I love you. Drop a comment below of what you would rate this card out of 10 and what you thought of the co-main and main event and the performances throughout the whole night. So until next time, guys, Christ is King.